Good afternoon. Welcome to the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee. First order of business for this committee is elect a chair and vice chair. To do that first, we'll do the roll call. Members of the committee include Councillor Campbell. Present. Councillor Dodick. Present. Councillor Parker. The fourth member of the committee, Councillor Middleton Hope, is on a leave absent. Other members here are Councillor Crowson and Councillor Carlson. If there's no objections, we'll proceed to election of the chair and vice chair. We've outlined what the procedure will be for election of chair and vice chair. Is there any objection to that process? Hearing none, I'll ask for nominations for the position of chair. Councillor Campbell?
I'll nominate Councillor Parker.
Do you accept the nomination?
Yeah, thank you.
Is there any further nominations? Hearing none, I declare that Councillor Parker is declared elected as chair. We'll just wait a moment for him to move over and then proceed with the election of vice chair.
Much. Thank you. Nominations for vice chair of the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee. Councillor Dodick.
It is my extreme pleasure to nominate Mark Campbell. I have a 20-minute biography that I'd like to read out. In a sleepy village in the United Kingdom, Mark Campbell was born. Anyways, I nominated Mark Campbell for vice chair.
And do you accept that nomination, Councillor Campbell?
It was not the United Kingdom, but yes.
Awesome. Any other nominations at this time? I'm guessing not. You formally are now our vice chair. Thank you, Councillor Campbell, for stepping forward. I will read the acknowledgement statement because I know we did skip that part there, but until we had a chair. The City of Lethbridge acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains and pays respect to the Blackfoot people past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationships to the land. The City of Lethbridge offers respect to the Métis and all who have lived on this land and made Lethbridge their home. Okay, the adoption of the agenda. Now, Mr. Deputy City Clerk, I do believe there's been a request to change the order of the agenda.
Correct. We were hoping to move up the submission from the Lethbridge Police Commission to be after the first presentation.
Seeing no problems with that, perfect. Do we vote on that, or okay? Can I motion from Councillor Dodick that we accept the agenda as amended? All those in favor? Perfect. Carries. Item 5.0, signed by myself, be it resolved that the minutes of the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee held on July 18, 2024 be approved, and that the chair and city clerk designate be authorized to sign the same, and further be resolved that the status of initiatives for November 21st, 2024 be received as information. Call the question. All those in favor? Carries. Perfect. So we'll go right into our presentation 6.1. Now, am I pronouncing your name properly? Is it Kurt Lieblich?
Close enough, yeah. I've been called worse than that. So.
Well, welcome, and thank you very much. And you're president of the Southern Alberta Crime Stoppers, regarding the Southern Alberta Crime Stoppers. So thank you and welcome for being here. Appreciate you being here.
So,
and how do you pronounce the last name again, so we all know? Lieblich. Okay, thank you.
So first of all, a very sincere thank you to the Standing Policy Committee for having us here today. I'm Kurt Lieblich, president of Southern Alberta Crime Stoppers. We're going to talk through kind of what's happening in terms of the organization, what's happening in terms of city impact, and then a request from this committee or the city. So we can go forward, Stephanie, please. So just to level set on Crime Stoppers, I think everybody is relatively familiar, but it is an organization focused on crime reduction and safety enhancement in our communities, partnering with the community, which includes obviously municipal government, with law enforcement, and with the media. So it is present in every province and territory in Canada, as well as throughout the US. So now in terms of Southern Alberta Crime Stoppers, we have been in existence here in Lethbridge for 41 years, since 1983. We are one of 4 chapters in the province. We have an 11-person board, all Lethbridge-based. We are 100% volunteer, and we obviously work with our 3 law enforcement coordinators with LPS, RCMP, and the Blood Tribe. So just from a tips process perspective, right, we collect anonymous tips that help solve crimes. So in that process, we pay rewards up to $2,000 for the reward based on the recommendation from the system. And I will say that in our communications, in today's communication as well as with other organizations, anonymous tip collection and potential tipster communication between law enforcement and the person having the information is often a valuable asset, right? There are people who are vulnerable, people who are victims, people who are potential victims who can't always necessarily call the police. So it is an additional channel of support working with law enforcement to help reduce crime in our community. So we go to the next slide, please, Stephanie. So just in terms of what we're working on. So these are our objectives for essentially my term over the next year and a half. So 3 really core pillars: financial stability, right, which is required for our existence; community safety, which is core to our mission; and collaboration. So that includes with our city, with our law enforcement partners, with our communities, businesses, schools, et cetera. We have 16 initiatives that we're trying to hammer out over the next 2 years inside of those 3 pillars. In terms of impact here in Lethbridge, so these are the LPS only or LPS specific stats from a Crime Stoppers perspective. So we have received 13,000 tips. We average about 300 per year. In my meeting with Mayor Higgin, which prefaced us coming and presenting to the SPC, 15% of the tips lead to an arrest. Which from our perspective is a pretty significant number. We have contributed to arrests and charges that led to $5 million in recoveries. About half of that was getting drugs off of our street. That's about $117,000 per year, and we pay out about $5,000 in tips every year. Okay, so just from a budget perspective, we are a charitable nonprofit organization. This year to date, we have about $15,000 in, $10,000 from LPS, and the rest from our 3 sponsors, and we have about $15,000 to $20,000 going out in terms of core budget. So that's rewards, our website, the P3 licenses that the tips come into, and our advertising. So it is outside of money that has been spent on campaigns. The majority of our funding comes from AGLC casino volunteering, which is only available every 2.5 or 3 years. And we will talk about kind of the $10,000 from LPS on the next slide. Okay. So, you know, essentially awareness from our perspective, awareness over the last 41 years has led to increased tips, which increases the amount of contribution that we're able to provide to law enforcement, to the city, to our citizens, to businesses, to produce a safer community. So that we are really focusing on what's in it for you. So what's in it for citizens? That means safer communities, businesses. That means safer shopping experiences for the city of Lethbridge. It really kind of means 2 things from our perspective, right? So a contribution to issues that you are working on with the police, as an example, a safer downtown, and then the growth of the city. So if we were to look at the amount of charges that have been laid, it contributes to about $200,000 of the LPS $47 million budget every year, just in terms of kind of quantified impact. So we are here to help and here to make a safer community. And these 3 areas are where we're asking a call to action for collaboration and support from the city. So we have done a number of initiatives. The first one is working with city vehicles, including Lethbridge Transit. So stickers, as an example, and those types of things, and rebranding that I think is you know, relatively low effort task for the most part. The second is around parks, right? So garbage containers and those types of things to increase signage and branding, and again, get the number out, get the information out so that people can be aware of and utilize the program. And the third is around revisited funding. So to be frank, the $10,000 we were receiving is a significant component of our operating budget, to be really honest. The City of Calgary just awarded Calgary LPS, Calgary Crime Stoppers, with a $300,000 donation. So there is a request for funding from the city so that we can continue to work on shared goals and objectives around a safer Lethbridge and safer community. So that is the end for me. I'll open it up to questions.
Just on? Okay. When I was looking over your presentation, I couldn't help but reflect when I was younger. Crime Stoppers, we want your name, your information, not your name. I remember, what was the tagline back then?
It is, yeah, it still is.
Oh,
It still is. If you
But it was
hear
on
that, it
CT.
is,
I remember it was on TV a lot. You guys used to have commercials and all that. And so my first question to you is, well, how do you guys market yourselves right now? Because I don't see anything on TV like I used to see.
So, two things. We are in a awareness campaign right now. So we sent out a mailer with a window sticker to the 2,400 businesses in Lethbridge just a couple of weeks ago. So that's number one. We've put up a sign at the visitlethbridge.com arena. We ran a booth with LPS, and we are working on, and we have our radio spots. So it's a little bit different now with the local TV stations, but we do have a partnership with the 3 radio stations and update those ads on a quarterly basis.
I think before I was supposed to go to questions here, I think, is there anyone in the audience who wants to present or talk about this topic at this time? Yes. There might be, is anyone online who, see, none. Thank you for answering my question. Councillor Campbell.
Thanks for the presentation. I just wonder, as you do your messaging, what do you find is missed? What are some of the misconceptions about Crime Stoppers that you find annoying, or at least something you got to get to?
Yeah, no, great question. So I will say two things. Sometimes it's bad guys telling on bad guys, and that's okay, right? That is, as long as it leads to a safer community and crime reduction, that's a good thing. The other thing is we presented to 100 Women Who Care a couple of months ago, and I think that there is a general knowledge of Crime Stoppers, right? We all remember the commercials. We all remember seeing it on TV. It's all part of our mind. But in terms of the utilization, I think that there's a lack of understanding that we're working to promote. So there's 2 angles there. So number one is the anonymity, right? So is it really anonymous? Yes. We do not. We have a special process where only our treasurer and our law enforcement partner knows even the tipster ID for them to pick up their checks. Not even the rest of our board knows that. So that's number one. So yes, it is 100% anonymous. The second piece is I think that there's assumptions around its presence, funding, and utilization. So I think that we play a valuable role in the communities that we work within, but who we're for, why we're used, how we can help vulnerable people, right? Both victims and the vulnerable community as it relates to the impacts of drugs in our community. As an example, I think that there's an opportunity that we're pursuing around that increased education, around how we're valuable and how we're valuable to you, right? You as a city, you as a business, you as an individual, you as a parent, you as a police officer.
One thing, I know you collaborate with Lethbridge City Police, but you are not part of the City Police.
Correct. We are not. Yeah, we are not part of the police. We work with them. We have an exceptional group of coordinators that assist us and provide, as an example, the tip information to the officers. But we are not part of the police, and the LPS has been very generous in their support for us, but we are definitely in need of financial funding. We are 100% volunteer-based and a separate organization from the police, law enforcement agencies that we work with.
And just a couple, when you're handing out the tip money, how do you determine that this person is worth getting the money? I mean, what's criteria?
Yeah, so great question. So the P3 is the system where the tips are captured, both online and through the phone. So as an example, if someone calls in a tip, it gets entered into the P3 system. That system is accessible to law enforcement, right? LPS has one, has licenses, RCMP, Blood Tribe, et cetera. That system, based on its aggregation of data, presents a recommendation for the tip amount based on the number of charges, the severity of charges, et cetera. We have a process internally within our board that pays a percentage of that recommendation and then make exceptions from that. So as an example, we typically pay at 80% of that recommendation. If it involves children, if it involves drugs, if it involves any of those things, we paid at 100% of the recommended amount. We do get some counsel from our law enforcement partners. So as an example, when warrants are being served and arrests are being made in multiple, there's kind of multiple crimes combined, it may impact the recommendation, but we work with our law enforcement partners to work on those scenarios.
Just one final question. You're saying you still want that? Is it the 10,000 is what you're seeking?
That is the request, yes.
Thanks. Thanks very much, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Dodick.
Yeah, actually, my question was basically the last question that Councillor Campbell asked. Do we have, I guess to the city treasurer, do we have a line item budget for Crime Stoppers of 10,000, or does that flow directly from the police, or is from the police? Chief?
I don't know if we can answer the exact question, but I just want to give everyone a little bit of a background on how funding started going to Crime Stoppers from the police service. I came here in 2020 during COVID situation where Crime Stoppers was having financial difficulties because of COVID, and we also feel very strongly that it's a very integral part of the supporting public safety, not just in this city, right across the country. So at that time, there was a meeting with myself, the mayor of the day, Mayor Spearman, and Crime Stoppers. They were requesting between the police and the city to provide them with $10,000 so they can actually offset some of the pressures and still continue to provide the critical service to the citizens here. At that time, I spoke with Mayor Spearman, and I told him we had a lot of vacancies in that period, and we had money in the police service. So I basically said, instead of it having to go before the city, we can cover that off through our budget, and we can certainly support the program because we feel very strongly about the program. And fast forward to today, where we have basically 2 vacancies right now in the department. So we are not in a financial position to be able to support programs such as this. So now that's why the request is coming to the city. So I don't know if there's a line object in the city's budget to cover this, but if the decision is made to still support it through the police service, you would have to probably add the money, and then we can do the service that we are already providing them.
So for 2024, you are covered. To the end of 2024, you're covered with that 10,000. So basically, you're asking that it be referred to, I guess, Economic Finance Committee to be considered. Yeah, no, I'm aware of that. I just want to make sure that's what's happening. So the police have funded it through to the end of 2024. You're seeking ongoing funding from the city to at least cover for 2025. So depending on when the budget talks take place, it might be sort of a one-time ad hoc for 2025, and then potentially ongoing basis on the base budget. But you need the money starting 2025.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think that I didn't plan on that happening, but I'm glad it did. So thank you. Yeah.
I realize we'd have to find out where the money might come from, but we are saving $5,000 by having a counselor on 4-week leave. Just mentioning half the money, it will be right there.
I have a question for you. So, maybe most likely the chief could answer this. But obviously, when goods are confiscated or taken in, are these things sold off? Like, if money is found, where does the money go? Like, let's say there's a drug bust and you find $5,000. Where does that money go? Maybe this can educate me, because could some of that money be sent to an organization like Crime Stoppers or something like that? Kind of the circle of money.
Well, the seized money obviously can't be just diverted automatically. They'll go to the province, and there's always applications are made to get the money to whoever. But there are many agencies who always ask for those proceeds of crime, as you call it, to get there. And I know province also had certain initiatives that they need that money to put that through. So it doesn't automatically go to support the Crime Stoppers. A lot of the
Inferring that, but is there a program where that they would, like, if you apply for it, you get a certain percentage or something like that? Have you ever gone that route at all?
I guess you have an answer.
So we're aware of provincially, and I don't want to speak on behalf of our provincial board, but provincially there is a federal program where that has been pursued. Provincially, I'd have to, inside of the province, I'd have to follow up.
General curiosity for me, just wondering where all that money goes, it gets confiscated and all that, so. Okay, very much. Any further questions from members of the SPC or other members of council? Seeing none. Now, I do have a resolution in front of me here, and signed by Councillor Campbell. I'll read it, but I'm guessing maybe we could add something to it. It says, Councillor Campbell, Southern Alberta Crime Stoppers, and thank you very much, Liba. You can have a seat now. Be resolved that the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee received the Southern Alberta Crime Stoppers presentation as information. Now, I'm guessing what I'm inferring here is that we'd probably want to do some kind of addition to it. Councillor Dodick and Stephanie, you're hearing this nice and loud, hopefully?
Okay, I'll say it slowly, and I'm proposing this as a friendly amendment. And further be it resolved that the request for $10,000 funding for the year 2025 be referred to City Council for consideration and potential funding source. The reason I'm doing this amendment this
How about
way...
economic? To economic, is that more appropriate?
No, I'm actually
Okay,
referring...
you're going to bypass that?
I'm trying to bypass it because we're running out of time in the year, and it would be a one-time funding anyways. It wouldn't make the base budget for the next year. So that's why I'm saying refer it to City Council for consideration and potential funding sources, and it simply deals with the year 2025. Did I put that in there? Refer to. For the year, after the word 10,000, could you put for the year 2025? And that's a proposed friendly amendment to my colleague, Councillor Campbell from the UK.
Councillor Campbell, do you accept it as a friendly amendment?
For $25? No, I would, yes.
Okay, so it's been accepted by the mover. So I'll read it once again. Be it resolved that the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee received the Southern Alberta Crime Stoppers presentation as information, and further be resolved that the request for a one-time funding of $10,000 for the year 2025 be referred to City Council.
Oh, sorry, there was a little bit more to that, sorry.
Please, go ahead.
For consideration and potential funding source.
Perfect.
Still friendly.
Perfect. Any questions on the motion? See none? Debate? Councillor Campbell?
$10,000, relatively small amount. I'm sure that we'll find a funding source for that. We'll bring it up for council, and I ask for my colleagues' support.
Can I suggest one thing? This takes care of 2025. Are you hoping they'll come back next year for ongoing, or do you want to send ongoing somewhere? Discussion around ongoing funding.
I want to, when it comes to City Council, I and other members of Council will have the benefit of 8 council members being able to consider how they want to deal with it, whether to refer ongoing funding to the economic SPC or somehow put it into the budget. But right now, I don't want to tie City Council's hands, but right now I just want to talk about 2025. And then at that time, there could be a further amendment. For example, if we do find a 10,000, whatever the funding source might be. So
For
further
motion
amendments
arising at council
yeah.
or something is what you're expecting. Okay, thanks.
I too will be supporting this. Mr. Liebach, thank you very much for coming forward today and giving us an update on what your organization is doing. It's good to see it's still very relevant and that you guys hopefully will be thriving in the future. And I would just ask, any other debate at all? Question's been called. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you very much as well as Chief for answering some background information. So we're going to have the following submission Moved by Councillor Dodic, the Lethbridge Police Service Master Plan, item 7.1. Be resolved that the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee recommend that Council, 1, adopt the Lethbridge Police Master Plan as an attachment to, in principle, as a guiding document. 2, direct Lethbridge Police Service and Lethbridge Police Commission to return to City Council through the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee meeting for approval of any of the objective identified in the Lethbridge Police Service Master Plan as follows. Capital projects to be submitted to future capital improvement program, CIP, deliberations, and initiatives requiring operating budget changes to be submitted to future operating budget deliberations. Councillor Dodic?
I expect there'll be a few questions. In fact, I can see questions.
And I do believe that our police chief and our chairman of the police commission, as well as our deputy chief, are here to answer any questions if need be. So I'll start with Councillor Crowson.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, my first question is to you, Ms. Kleisinger, because, there's things in here like pursue land investment, there's things around building condition assessment, and some of that would be Mr. Sanchez's area, but it sort of overlaps in some areas. How have the other departments, this is coming from LPS and LPC, but some of it's probably going to impact other areas of the corporation as well. Have your departments had a chance to look at this? Is this something that, you have coordinated with? How will this tie in with the other departments?
One of the conversations that we will be having with the police chief next month is exactly about that, about land and what they're looking for their future needs. And then specifically knowing that we're looking at fire station relocations and things that we want to enter into the next CIP. So those discussions will be happening in the next couple months.
So if this is approved and moves ahead, there's still those conversations going to have. We're not tying your hands in any way. It's just going to lead to more conversation?
More conversation and then maybe opportunities for partnership as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this topic at this time? Seeing none, any further questions from members of the SPC or other members of council? Councillor Campbell?
Sure. I just whoever maybe the police chief would answer the current building that the police service is in. How adequate is it at this point? And in retrospect, should it have been bigger at the time it was redone?
Thank you for that question. And I also want to thank the city for commissioning this report to be completed for us, which really provides a good perspective on the situation of the department right now. Short answer to your question is no, and it's actually in the report that based on the discussions they had with us, we are already too small for the operation that we are getting. And with the anticipated growth of the department and some of even the positions and the money that was a lot given by the city for us to expand in certain areas, we need more expansion and more room to be able to actually provide the service to the citizens. So at this point, we are managing, and you had other question. Was the department built to? I'm sure when they built it and they expanded it, it was to the standards and met the requirements, but at this point it's not, and as we go into the future, it's certainly not going to be adequate.
How was your experience with the consultants throughout the whole process? Can you kind of give us a little sense of how that went? I'm sure they were very thorough, and I hope you were pleased with that.
Yes, it was a really good experience. They were very thorough and basically asked all the right questions, met with the right individuals, and provided a very realistic snapshot of what the department is dealing with right now and what our needs are moving into the future. If I can also highlight, like the report is a pretty large report, and there's a lot of moving pieces in there. But I think it's important for us to at least provide to you that there are things that are immediate need for the department, and there are other items that are obviously moving into the midterm and long-term goals and needs of the department. But those those immediate pieces, I think, are certainly something that we want everyone to pay close attention to, because that impacts service delivery right now, not into the future. And there were, I believe, 7 items that we took from the report that had to do with that. Number one being female locker rooms. We are at a state right now adding more females to our organization is going to create problem because we don't have, and when you look at the lens of EDI and trying to bring females to the organization, we won't be able to do that simply because they won't have a locker to have their stuff. So that's an immediate operational piece. Obviously, number 2, the cybercrime unit, which we haven't got anyone yet, but to start that, we need space, adequate space for a cybercrime unit to be operating from, and we don't have that. The same with the sex crime unit, that we need more space for that position. Forensic Identity Secure Bay is a critical piece of the operations with the forensic identification and what we need for a secure bay to have our operations. On the information technology, the evidence and video strategy, FT, again, we need certainly more room when we expanding that. Criminal investigation division growth, we need, they're running out of room and they need to be moving forward, and also traffic response unit relocation, not necessarily in the building, but relocation to at least that can obviously give us opportunity to free up some space that we can use for some of the other pieces that we talked about.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chief, for the information. And just process for the public. If this is approved, it's not saying go out and build this. It's saying use this as a guiding document to prepare for capital budget coming up, working with other city departments, so this essentially is a planning guide to develop your best capital ask at the next budget. And what gets built will still depend on how much money we have and the priorities of the community at that time.
Absolutely, and we understand that. We just wanted to make sure we highlight some of the immediate pressures, and then obviously once we have some sort of a guideline, we can certainly work in which one of those priorities become priority again, and move forward in getting the space we need.
Well, I recognize you understand that. I just like to repeat it over and over for the public, because whenever something like this comes up and they see budgets, they think we're going to run out and start paying and buying things immediately. So none of this is going to be built at this time. It's going to get into the capital budget in a couple of years.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, it's a bit of a follow-up to the last question. Is when the report is quite large, but the thing that really stands out to me is that you've broken down certain things in terms of where you'd like or where you would hope or propose for dates of completion, and some of the critical areas actually, it would seem to me, would require funding to at least be approved fairly quickly, because some of the critical or one of the biggest critical areas has a completion of the year 2028, which is rapidly approaching. So when you use the word critical, it's doctors say on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain like? People say 12. To really try to emphasize that, this is a need that's past urgent kind of thing. So when you say critical, would it be fair to say that, obviously if you had your druthers, this is what you would need right now to be able to provide the police enforcement or whatever the police require at this juncture. So critical means really right now rather than 2028, but 2028 or the other dates mentioned are more of a realism applied to potential money availability. So what I'm saying, I guess I just want you to reiterate and confirm for me that when you're saying critical, you mean really right now, but you're looking at it with reality in your eyes, knowing that there's limited monies and limited budget available. Am I accurately reflecting that?
That's correct. The critical is our needs right now, but we also very understand the fact that there are other challenges that they have. But we just had this one from the police service delivery perspective. These are the more important and priority items that we need to address before obviously moving to the other pieces. But these are critical means what we need right now, or in some cases yesterday, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I think I understood that, what critical meant. Thank you for that.
Any other questions from members of the SPC or members of council at large? See none? Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate that. And thank you as well, Mr. Thornton, for being here. I've read the resolution. Debate, Councillor Dodick.
One of the functions of City Council, one of the most important functions, is to ensuring the safety of our citizens. And, there's a number of components to that. That's policing, whether it be enforcement or going out into community and dealing with prevention and being proactive about it. And, of course, fire services and EMS are important as well. And when the chief and I were having a chat back and forth of what's critical and what critical means in the context of policing, I think we have to appreciate that this master plan is a good document. It's a guiding document, but somehow I hope that we'll be able to move up a lot of these things, even though at this point in time we may not have a funding source for them. I think it's anecdotally, we all know that we have a problem in Lethbridge that is hard to control, and a lot of it relates to drug addiction. And though that may be through no fault of anyone's, nevertheless, it is impacting not only the people that are using the drugs, but the 99.9% of people who are not using the drugs. And we need to be able to use our police forces to help 100% of the folks involved. And we need to somehow find the way to be able to provide the resources to the police that they need to be able to effectively deal with the problem that the city is facing that is coming at us fast and furious. So even though the dates 2028, 2025, 2033 have been banding about, I just want to ensure that this council, and I'm sure they do, appreciate that this is more than just a document on paper or that we can just file away and that we need something to deal with. This will be presented to City Council probably as a consent agenda item, and I'm hoping that the members of council, all of us that are present, actually pull it from the agenda and ask questions on it if they have any questions that have not been answered on this. So at the risk of being too lengthy, I now would ask for council, or rather SPC support for this resolution.
Councillor Crowson.
Just a process thing. If you think this should not be on the consent agenda, you can actually put that into the motion, that it goes on to the agenda of council. That is something that you could actually move so it doesn't get lost on consent agenda.
I propose a friendly amendment, which I will accept, which will say, and further be it resolved that this item be placed on the regular agenda at the next council meeting.
The December 10th meeting.
Correct.
We got that, Stephanie, in there? She's pretty quick on this. So.
Tried, didn't you?
Tried, but I couldn't get my mic to work.
So thank you for introducing that, Councillor Dodick, and opening debate. Any further debate? Councillor Campbell?
Oh, I just want to say that we really appreciate what's before us and the great detail of which we're looking forward to realizing the things that are critical. And so I look forward to the next council meeting so we can discuss it further and hopefully get things done sooner than later. But thanks for the work that you've all done. Appreciate it. And I will be supporting the resolution.
Thank you. Any closing comments, Councillor Dodick?
Call the question.
Question's been called. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And I'm guessing that you will probably be at that December 10th meeting if questions need be. Of course. Thank you. Yeah. Moving right along here, we're going to deal with item 6.2. And thank you very much for allowing the police to go ahead of you folks there. Mr. Dwayne Enns, General Manager of Regulatory Services, regarding the Animal Care and Control Bylaws, 6475. And would you like to introduce the people that are with you as well, Mr. Enns?
I have with me today Skylar Plurd, who is the Director of Community and Animal Services. My Senior Bylaw Officer, Dave Henley, is also here in case there's questions in his purview that would need to be asked.
And we have 2 lawyers in the house, too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sorry, I forgot, Mr. Adam.
3 lawyers. Oh, yeah, we do have 3 lawyers. That's right.
Adam Faust and my director, Brian Lowen, also assisted with this. And I'm very, very pleased to be presenting this today. We put a lot of effort into this and a lot of work, and I hope that this is pleasing to a lot of folks. In addition to the names I mentioned, I just want to point out, thank the communication support from Megan Williams and Liam Nixon, and as well our working group included Mr. Henley and Mr. Plurd, as well as Ms. Popson, Michelle Popson of our department. And I also want to thank all the individuals and folks out there, experts and the like, that we ask questions on, different cities and the like that helped us out in this regard. So for you that are not familiar with Mr. Plurd, his company, Community Animal Services, won a competitive bid and took over operations of the animal shelter in February of 2022, following a decoupling with our previous operator. Mr. Plurd and his team have since put in a lot of work, and we're very grateful for his assistance. He has hired and trained new staff in that time, reestablished relationships with other enforcement agency and rescue groups, and overhauled operations with respect to both care and adoptions as well as enforcement efforts. But the most important change is the partnership that we've had with Community Animal Services. We didn't have that before. We worked together in solving problems, and it seems to have been worked the last couple of years, so I'm very appreciative of that. And I shouldn't point this out, but I knew I had the right person when we were talking about holidays, and he doesn't get too many, and he was indicating that his holidays are planned around checking out other animal programs in other cities. So I think we got the right person in the right role. And as you know, we had the MGA order come in front of council with the chickens. Mr. Plurd and his team like to explore new ways to solve problems. So hopefully with this bylaw, we've given them some more tools to effectively address some issues, including nuisance issues where a dog's not necessarily aggressive, but is causing issues in the community. If we could just move, I have a short period of time, so maybe I can just highlight a couple things. Can we move through 2 more, I think? 1 more after that? There we go, yes. Okay. Firstly, regarding number of cats, which is one of the reasons this came, as you're all aware of a situation we had a while ago with a property that had way too many cats. And just to let you know, we do not have situations such as that in the city, but we now have tools to deal with the situation if it comes forward. This will now allow the shelter to address the hoarding situations. However, and I want to make this clear to the folks out there because I've gone through this before and the calls are going to come. If you have 7 cats, we're not coming after Snowball the day after this bylaw is presented. That's not our intention. Our intention is to prioritize education in this area. We will also allow legacy cats where property is not a cause for concern. So any household that will be able to naturally come down to the required number of cats, and we can work with individuals such as that, but we're not going to pass this with the 6 cat limit and then go after individuals for 7 or 8 cats. We're going to work with them to bring that number down naturally. The next slide, please. Microchipping. I just wanted to point out microchipping because this is a unique thing that we have added here. We've got some sections in here where we regulate cat behavior. You'll note, however, we're not proposing mandatory cat licensing at this time. The reason why is our review of other cat licensing programs showed that cat licensing rates remain really low, anywhere from 11 to 16% with municipalities that have mandatory cat rates. The compliance rates aren't good. Additionally, in working with community services, we determined that a mandatory cat licensing program would require a number of resources. We projected between $170,000 to $300,000, of which cat licensing revenue would not be able to cover the same. We just don't have the economies of scale of Edmonton or Calgary to bring in the revenue expected to cover that. So what we have proposed, and that's just for background of those who weren't around the last time this came to council, that was one of the reasons I think the cat provisions last time didn't go through was because of the mandatory licensing and the amount of money. So we've proposed what is a microchipping program as an alternative to mandatory licensing. We already have volunteer licenses for cats, $10. We're putting that in the bylaw. With that, you can have a low-cost microchip option for $30, which will be operated on a cost recovery basis. So there's no cost to the city for that. Community Animal Services is going to operate that program on a cost recovery basis. And it's our hope that this program will be embraced by the community and increase our efficiency to reunify lost pets and keep cats out of the shelter, which is a significant cost savings. The more cats in the shelter, the more animals in the shelter, it costs the city more to take care of them. And this city is well known in the past for coming up with unique ideas. NOCA came to us years ago with the low-cost spay and neuter program, which has been quite successful in keeping unwanted cats out of the shelter. We also have an animal welfare committee that does great work with respect to TNR programs and assisting rescue agencies. So we're hopeful that if passed, this program will be another innovation that maybe other communities will try to get. And so we're hoping, right now we got about 3% voluntary licenses in the city. We're hoping to get close to the numbers in the cities that have compulsory mandatory licensing. So that hopefully is one of the key programs we're putting forward, and hopefully that is something that the community likes. Next, oh no, I think it's on, sorry, back. And one last thing before my time's up here is, yeah, I got some time. I just wanted to briefly mention that we have been meeting with individuals who formed a nonprofit organization and will be presenting a proposal for an urban hen pilot program to this committee at a later date. Now, in our review, we found that many communities in Alberta have adopted such a program, and the Animal Control Bylaw Survey, which Communications helped us prepare, showed increased support in this area. However, we do realize that some councillors have legitimate concerns about allowing a similar program in this city. So our advice to the group, and they've named themselves CLUCK, Citizens of Lethbridge Urban Hen Chicken Club, our direction to them was to come up with a proposal that would not require additional funding from the city. So in previous times, we'd have to have some money to deal with it. We're only going to deal with it from the back end of things. If someone is not complying with their rules, etc., then Skylar and his team will come in and assist. But for the most part, this program would be operated through strict regulations or strict health and other concerns. We gave this group a number of different documents in terms of assistance with health and with noise and with smells and different type of things that are standard across the country in these areas. We've given them instructions to go out and do their best to find a program that addresses our health and other concerns with respect to an urban hen program. And they're doing so, and you should be expecting to see them shortly in the near future, in the next calendar year. So that's just a very brief overview. Skylar and myself are willing to answer any questions you may have on this matter. And like I said, we worked fairly hard on this. We've got new tools, and we've modernized some stuff, added new definitions and the like. We think that in what we did is we took 3 bylaws, we amalgamated the 3 bylaws, and we've added the cat provisions. So hopefully I've listed some of the main things, but we're willing to answer any questions you now have.
Thank you, Mr. Enns. Councillor Croson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much. Yes, this is there's a lot of moving pieces here with all the different things you've brought forward. So I appreciate that we are looking at it. Now, the Animal Welfare Committee has, as part of their mandate, to advise council. Have they had a look at this, and did they have any concerns or issues around it? And if they haven't, is there a chance for them to provide advice to us before January on anything they see here from the community perspective?
They were advised on it. We were a little rushed with we were supposed to come back in Q3, and now we're a month late. So we did rush it a little bit, and some of our discussions at the end were kind of rushed. And in that particular regard, we did update them on that. I don't know if they had any concerns at that time. Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Henley.
So certainly the principles of the bylaw were communicated to the Animal Welfare Committee. The bylaw itself wasn't presented to the committee itself until after SPC gets to see it. You guys get to see the first eyes on it, right?
So if there's something that they look at and go, this isn't going to work, would you inform us before second and third reading if there's something that just pops up?
I think that the Animal Welfare Committee is only one piece of the communication group that's included amongst all the other special interest groups. So that would certainly have to be vetted first before that decision would be that the Animal Welfare Committee doesn't direct administration on how to regulate a bylaw. We will be looking for support in areas that we've presented, and I believe what we've presented has support.
Respectfully, the Animal Welfare Committee has a component to advise council. And so if we can use them to advise council on a bylaw like this, I would appreciate it. So I don't know if you guys...
So they certainly have, they've been updated all the way along, and there have been no red flags so far.
Okay, perfect. The other concern I hear often related to cats is songbirds. Songbirds, the decimation of songbirds from cats, right? So it's not just cats in your yard, it's cats out and about. Other communities have done belling or anything. What's the best practices around cats and protection of songbirds? Is there anything out there? Has anybody considered that at all?
I will let Mr. Plurd answer that question.
Am I mic'd up? Okay, There we go. So when we started the process of reviewing the current bylaws, a lot of time was spent looking what other communities do and what best practices are, and also what is the reality. Regulating cats like regulating dogs, a blanket regulation of those two animals wouldn't be effective, and I'm referring to being at large. The current dog control bylaw says that your dog can't be off its property unless it's on a leash. That's to prevent it from creating a nuisance or threat to the community. The bylaw that we're presenting, you will see, does not have a regulation specific to cats being loose in public. And you've got two species. They interact with their environment differently. And one is much harder to regulate than the other. So we're looking to use the tools that are in the current bylaw about the cats creating a nuisance or a threat to members of the public. Will that stop cats from creating a threat to songbirds? 100% no. We're hoping that these tools will build on the work that's already done about educating cat owners on keeping their cats in their property, to protect their cats, to protect the environment, to protect the community. This will be more of a tool to use. I'm sure there's all sorts of ways. Yes, you could putting bells on cats, but then there's groups that advocate against putting collars on cats, so you're always going to have some resistance in one way or the other. We're hoping that we can change behavior and set a bit of an expectation that the best place for cats is at home or on their own property, keeping the cats and the community safe. However, enforcing that would be so resource intensive, I don't know if there'd be any value in it.
That's always the difficulty, right? Finding the balance between having a law and actually enforcing a law. And yes, I mean, more and more people are keeping their cats inside, but that's certainly not across the board. Question I had from the public, so I will let them know the answer. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we are presenting this without asking for resources. There's going to be some extra work, and Mr. Plurd indicated he can shift some resources around to try it. But to put on a full-on enforcement thing, we'd be coming back with some monetary ask. So that also makes it more difficult to deal with that.
No monetary ask, don't worry. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Dodick.
I got to ask at least one question, don't I? So, scorpions and tarantulas, are they arachnids? And should they be defined in animal? Because if I have 1,000 scorpions or tarantulas.
They're called lawyers.
Ooh. It wasn't really a serious question.
No,
But
he's joking. Yeah, I'm sorry.
actually, arachnids are a separate species. So
I do believe that is also covered with provincial legislation. You'll notice actually
Yeah.
that not many of the rules have changed. Is now allowing two. Let's go into since we're talking about wildlife. We're allowing 2 pet rabbits. We've updated permitted locations for livestock. Nuisance wording for accumulation of feces. Animals include everything. So any animal in a car, you know, if there's heat, except we've added some of that stuff. But you'll notice, and this leads into your question, serious or not, that we didn't change too much of the wildlife stuff because the province has a really good wildlife bylaw that covers a lot. And if you look in Ontario and in some other jurisdictions, their bylaws go into great detail about that. That's because at the provincial level they don't have that. So that, I believe, is covered. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that is covered.
it's okay. I just don't want to get rid of my 100 arachnids. Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Thanks. I just, for clarification, the microchipping program, is that strictly for cats or is that for dogs as well?
I believe it's dogs as well, right? Yeah.
I can answer that. I think the intention is to use the microchipping program to address the registration of cats, but you don't have to be discriminatory. If the resources are available to do both cats and dogs, we want as many owned animals to have ID as possible.
Right. So that's good to know. Which leads my next question about what is going to be your messaging plan if this passes? And is there a messaging plan, or how do you want to say here are the rules? But how do you get that to them, to people, to pet owners, et cetera?
Well, we intend to work with the communications on this because this. Every time you bring up the issue of cats, and hopefully with this bylaw, we can still deal with some of the human-animal conflict, but it's not so hard-handed that people are going to say, you know, you've overstretched in this particular area. And we want to get out there, that we want to educate. That's one of our key things. Educate what's in the bylaw, educate what your responsibilities as a pet owner are, and we're certainly going to be working with the communications team to try and get the word out surrounding this bylaw if it is passed.
Right. And just a comment, and not to go down a rabbit hole, but no,
You're allowed 2 rabbits. You're allowed 2 rabbits now.
I really appreciate the work you do because animals and owning pets and chickens and bees, it's a very emotional thing for people, and I know to come up with compromises, you've done I think a remarkable job taking what people are saying and doing the best you can. So I appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
Got to thank my team. They really went all out in checking, all the municipalities' bylaws, checking with the teams what works best and the like. And it is getting to be a very difficult job as well. Mr. Plurd has told me stories about being the first one in as the tear gas goes into a place to try and pull out a mastiff by himself. So it's a lot of tough work at times, but also you have to. This is people's pets, right? So for some people, it's like their child. So we do our best possible to not be that enforcement end, but when it's needed, we try to do it as professional as possible.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Carlson.
Watch the meeting go till 3 now.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, my computer froze for a second there. Thank you. Just a quick question. As Campbell went down the rabbit hole, why 2 rabbits and 6 cats?
Yeah, no, that's good questions. The 2 rabbits, we were told that rabbits are very communal. They have to have a partner. Having a single rabbit, they are very attuned to having someone else there as well. So that's why that was added. The 6 cats, we kind of took from what the standard was. I believe that's in Edmonton, Calgary, and Red Deer. Medicine Hat has the 6. Red Deer actually has an unlimited amount. So we looked and saw what, and talked to our partners about what is a practical amount of cats to have and be able to take care of it without having issues and the like. And it seemed that the number 6 came up, so we thought that would be a good number.
Okay, and was it the same with rabbits? I know rabbit owners in town, and it never really struck me that there was a difference between rabbits and cats in the number you could have, because I've seen on Facebook some folks have 3 or 4 or more rabbits. It was 2 the standard? I'm just wondering why only 2, but you can have 6
But I
cats.
believe the original there was only 1 is because of the breeding of these particular animals. And I think they wanted to stop having an oversupply of rabbits in the town. Yeah.
So to try and broaden what this bylaw does, it also has the ability to allow for permission for things that are in conflict with the bylaw, maybe evaluated on an individual basis. So if you ran into the situation where somebody had 4 rabbits, they were all kept in the house, they weren't a problem, you could consider exercising authorities underneath the permission section to evaluate each on an individual basis.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And final question, if I can, Mr. Chair. I was first saddened when I saw that we weren't allowing urban beekeeping. But when I read the rationale, it made sense. I didn't realize that most hive bees are considered invasive. Is that correct?
That's correct. We actually we checked a number of research, and we actually talked to a leading researcher at the University of Lethbridge. We had a good conversation with her, and she pointed out that inexperienced urban beekeepers may inadvertently contribute to the spread of diseases with potential to impact wild bee populations. So it was an area that was a little bit kind of dangerous in getting to this area. And we also didn't have the resources to look into it further. But in all our exploring this particular issue, it wasn't recommended by a number of researchers.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you. Appreciate that. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Carlson. Any further questions from members of the SPC or members of council at large? Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak on this, ask a question of some sort? Seeing none, I have this following resolution signed by myself. Moved by Councillor Parker, Animal Care and Control Bylaw. And thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate your presentation. Thank you for all the work you did. Animal Care Control Bylaw 6465, item 6.2. Be it resolved that the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee recommend that Council 1 provide first reading to the Animal Care and Control Bylaw 6475 at the December 10th, 2024 regular meeting of Council, and 2, provide second and third reading to the Animal Care and Control Bylaw 6475 at the January 21st, 2025 regular meeting of Council. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, debate. I think I speak on behalf of everyone saying thank you very much for all the work you do on this, and it's greatly appreciated. And for that, I'd call the question. All those in favor? It carries unanimously. Nothing else, Mr. Clerk? We are now adjourned.